Welcome to the deep dive. So you've sent us some really interesting material about prioritizing self-care.
Yeah, it's a topic that comes up a lot.
It really does. And that's what we're going to explore today. Our sort of mission, if you like, is to pull out the key insights from these sources. Specifically, we've got a transcript here from the EDP English Dialogue podcast on YouTube.
Right.
And the goal is to really understand how you, listening, can effectively, build self-care into your busy life.
Because it often gets pushed aside, doesn't it?
Totally. And I think what often gets missed is that self-care isn't just some indulgence. It's not just a luxury.
No, absolutely not. The sources really frame it as fundamental, essential for your overall well-being and, your ability to actually keep going long term.
Okay, so let's get into that because, like you said, it's often misunderstood. The source material, right from the start, it looks beyond the obvious stuff, doesn't it?
It does. It's way more nuanced than, say, just having the occasional treat. Those could be part of it, for sure.
But it's not just that. So unpacking it, when we hear self-care, yeah, maybe bubble baths or massages pop into mind first.
The typical images.
Exactly. But the transcript we looked at, it really emphasizes it as more of an active thing, an ongoing commitment.
Conscious nurturing.
Right. Nurturing your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's about deliberately making choices.
Little ones and big ones.
Yeah, choices that help you find balance and build resilience. The source gives simple examples, actually. Things like just deciding to go to bed a bit earlier.
Or taking that short walk at lunchtime. Things that don't sound grand,
Not at all. But they're intentional. They're conscious decisions for yourself.
And that intentionality you mentioned, that seems really key. It makes self-care something you do, not just something that happens to you or something you treat yourself to occasionally.
Right. Which brings us to, well, a big hurdle for many people, I think. The guilt.
Ah, yes, the guilt factor. The transcript tackles that head on.
It does. This feeling that taking time for yourself is somehow selfish or indulgent.
And the source links that back to our culture.
Yeah.
This constant push for productivity, for achievement, rest often feels like it needs justification.
Yeah, like you have to earn your downtime. We can really internalize that pressure, can't we? To always be doing.
Absolutely. But, as the source points out, just constantly pushing without any real breaks, that's a direct route to burnout.
And when you hit that wall, you're actually less effective anyway, for yourself, for others, in your work, everywhere.
Precisely. There's a great analogy in the source material about car maintenance.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
You wouldn't drive your car until it completely sputtered out of fuel before filling it up.
Of course not. Or wait for the engine to seize before getting it serviced.
Exactly. You do maintenance regularly so it runs smoothly. Self-care is basically that, but for us, it's proactive upkeep.
Preventing the breakdowns, the emotional, physical crashes.
And it's not just about dodging the negative stuff like burnout. The source also talks about the positives, the ripple effects.
Okay, like...
Well, when you're actually rested, when you feel more balanced, you tend to be more present, right? More engaged.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that changes how you interact with people. The source mentions being more patient, more empathetic.
Which benefits everyone, really, not just you. It improves relationships, helps you handle things better.
Totally. So, okay, let's talk practicalities. How do we actually do this self-care stuff day to day? The transcript gives a good range of examples.
It starts with the basics, the physical foundations, like activity, good nutrition, getting enough sleep. Those are like the baseline, aren't they?
Definitely the cornerstones. The source really underscores that prioritizing sleep and decent food sets you up for better moods, better focus. It's hard to function well if those basics are off.
True.
Then it moves into the mental and emotional side.
Yeah.
Things like mindfulness practices, deep breathing, maybe some meditation, journaling even.
Just being more aware of the moment without judging it.
Yeah, cultivating that presence. And then there are hobbies. The transcript brings those up too.
Ah, yes. Things like reading, painting, playing music. Anything that actually restores your energy.
It's about doing something you genuinely enjoy, something that shifts your focus in a good way. It's interesting, isn't it, how engaging in a hobby can be a form of active rest.
Yeah, it's not just zoning out in front of the TV, though maybe that has its place sometimes too.
Right, but these hobbies, they can actively replenish you, channeling your attention into something fulfilling.
Okay, that's a great point. And then there's the big one, boundaries.
Oh yeah, crucial, but often really challenging. Learning to say no sometimes.
Saying no to those extra commitments, right.
Yeah.
Protecting your time and energy, it can feel really hard, that sense of obligation.
You can. But as the source points out, always saying yes just leads to feeling spread thin, overwhelmed,
Hmm.
and ultimately you neglect your own needs.
So boundaries are kind of like saying, hey, my well-being matters too, both to yourself and others.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important mental shift the transcript talks about. Seeing self-care not as indulgent or selfish.
But as strategic,
Yeah.
responsible even.
Yes. Strategic and responsible. Recognizing that taking time to rest and recharge actually refuels you.
Yeah.
Makes you more effective, more productive in the long run.
It flips the script completely. It's not self-centered, it's self-stewardship, looking after your resources.
Well put. Self-stewardship. I
Oh,
like that. Now, the source is realistic too. It acknowledges the challenges, like the big one. I don't have time,
always the first objection, isn't it?
pretty much. But the message here is encouraging. Even tiny pockets of time can make a difference. You don't need hours.
Right, like a quick 5-minute stretch, a short walk around the block. These little things add up.
They really do. Another hurdle can be money. People think self-care means expensive spa days.
Yeah, or fancy retreats.
But the transcript highlights great low-cost options. Spending time in nature, usually free. A warm bath. Reading a library book?
It doesn't need to break the bank to be beneficial.
Not at all. And going back to that guilt thing
Uh,
about just resting, the source uses that car analogy again.
remind.
You don't feel guilty putting fuel in your car. Right. You know it needs it to run.
Mm-hmm. Essential.
We need to have that same understanding for ourselves.
Mm.
Our bodies, our minds, they need refueling too. Respecting those limits is just necessary.
That really links into the connection between self-care and mental health, which the transcript also covers.
Yeah, it highlights how these consistent practices can help stabilize your mood, maybe reduce anxiety.
And prevent burnout, which we mentioned earlier.
Definitely plays a big role there. And it talks about healthy ways to process emotions too, like journaling or just talking things through with supportive friends. That's emotional self-care.
And we shouldn't forget the mental boost from physical activity, right? Endorphins, stress reduction.
Absolutely. And how good nutrition fuels your brain function. It all ties together.
It really shows how holistic it is.
Mm.
Self-care isn't just one thing. It's about tending to yourself as a whole person. Physical, mental, emotion, they're all connected.
Interdependent.
And this idea extends into work-life balance too, doesn't it? The transcript mentions setting clear boundaries with work.
Yes, things like having a definite end time to your workday. Or, crucially maybe, turning off those work notifications when you're off the clock.
Oof, that's a hard one for many.
It is, but it's about consciously taking back your personal time. Giving yourself permission to just breathe, disconnect.
And speaking of disconnecting, social media, that gets a mention too.
Yeah, the potential pressure there. The source suggests things like maybe a digital detox sometimes, or just being more mindful about screen time generally.
Creating phone-free periods could definitely help with mental clarity.
For sure. Okay, so for you listening, thinking, right, I want to do this more, what are some solid strategies? The transcript has some good starting points. A big one is start small.
Don't try to overhaul everything at once.
Exactly. Pick maybe just one thing that feels doable, that short walk maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or 10 minutes of reading, and actually schedule it in.
Treat it like an appointment, an important one.
Yes. Respect that appointment with yourself. Then maybe as you get used to it, you can gradually add another small thing. Perhaps prepping a healthy lunch, or having some dedicated offline time, or doing those quick stretches.
These little consistent actions, they send a message to yourself that your well-being is a priority.
Precisely. It's about treating yourself like you'd treat a good friend with care, support, understanding. And the source really emphasizes consistency over perfection.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up if you miss a day.
No, it's not about a perfect streak. It's about the overall pattern, the intention, cultivating healthier habits over the long haul.
Self-compassion is key there, isn't it? Being kind to yourself in the process.
Absolutely essential. And another crucial point the transcript makes, self-care isn't one size fits all. It's personal. It changes.
Right. What works for one person might do nothing for someone else.
So the advice is to experiment. Try things out. If yoga isn't your thing, maybe dancing is.
Wow.
Or playing guitar. Or just sitting quietly and daydreaming.
Find what actually fills your cup, so to speak. What leaves you feeling genuinely replenished.
Yeah. It shouldn't feel like just another chore on your list. It should be fulfilling, restorative.
And it can change over time too, right? Depending on what's going on in your life.
Definitely. Your needs evolve. A new job, moving house, health changes. All these things might mean you need to adapt your self-care approach. Be flexible.
So it's like a lifelong learning process, really, figuring out what nourishes you now.
Exactly that. And one final really important point from the source. Seeking support is also self-care.
Ah, okay. So like talking to a therapist or a coach or even just leaning on friends.
hmm Asking for help isn't weakness. It's a really strong form of looking after yourself. You don't have to figure it all out alone.
That's powerful. And it connects individual self-care to something bigger, doesn't it? Like community.
It does. The idea that when we take care of ourselves, we're actually in a better position to support the people around us. It creates this positive upward spiral.
A ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. So as you think about all this, just remember, even the smallest step you take towards prioritizing yourself,
Mm.
it matters. It counts.
Give yourself permission to rest, to recharge, even if it feels a bit weird at first.
hmm And celebrate those small wins along the way. Acknowledge them.
Definitely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that ripple effect idea. How might really prioritizing your own self-care, your own well-being, not only change things for you, but also positively influence your relationships, your work, maybe even your wider community?
It's a powerful question to consider.
It is. Well, thank you for sending in your sources, and thank you for joining us for this deep dive.